huge loss out here in these rural areas. So today we're going to go into the rural. We're going to go into the rural areas, guys. You know, you hear so much on the news about what's happening along the coast, but that hurricane went inland too, and they had a lot of damages. Far inland, and that's what we're going to explore today. What exactly happened far inland? Of course, this isn't going to make the news. It's not as photogenic, but let's get out there and see what took place far off in the rural, deep in the rural Florida, the parts of Florida that aren't on the news. Let's see what really took place out there. All right, guys, so we're on the outskirts of Myakka City, and you can see a lot of damage. Beautiful country road, and you can see a lot of massive trees were lost. As you look into these fields, you can see the destruction, not on the houses, but on the beautiful giant oak trees. You can tell that this area suffered huge winds. These are some very large oak trees out here. These places out here also suffered greatly, and they may not be on the news, but these farms out here took a huge hit. I've been all over Florida, but man, this Myakka forest is one of the most beautiful places I've seen so far in this state. Alright, y'all, welcome to the absolute middle of nowhere in Florida. I want to show you guys some of the damages out here. Wow, this is so beautiful out here. I feel like I'm back in Alabama. The natural beauty of Myakka is incredible. Take a look at some of these tree stumps that are out here. Of course, these people are lucky they have a lot of equipment and they have a lot of big tractors, but just look at the size of some of these tree roots that are out here. Like, again, luckily these people, they got big equipment and they're able to clean this crap up. But what a natural, beautiful area. Now, the Miyaka River area is beautiful, but it's also complicated. Alright guys, as you can see here, when this giant oak tree fell, it pretty much took out the fence, but not all of it, just part of it in a way. It's weird how, you know, once the ground is saturated, the whole root system comes off, because since it's sand here in Florida, it doesn't really give chance for the trees to kind of set deep roots, so this happens since it's all just sand underneath. There's a lot of places where you have flaggers on the road because they're either cleaning up garbage or fixing places where the road got washed out. So all these country roads, there's a little bit of waiting out here. enter an area of Desoto County that suffered greatly. The Miyaka River went far beyond its banks, and so did the Peace River. And this area out here was mostly underwater. This is one of the poorest regions of the state of Florida. People out here just don't make all that much money. Whatever money they do make, they gotta jack up their trucks, get some big wheels on it. That's not cheap. Now these things here mate for life. These are decent birds. There's no hood rattery in this type of bird here. They mate for life. Ain't that so? These people out here don't even wave. What a sorry looking place, bro. The thing about where I live now, it's like the community that I live in now, they have like laws and requirements and stuff to live in the community where I live in now. So like, if you have a criminal record, you can't live in my community where I live now. Like, they don't allow you to. What's really nice about that is like, I can wave to all my neighbors and say hi to them because I know they're not like convicted weirdos or something. But like in trailer parks like this, I don't even like waving at people because you don't know what type of person they are. You know, like a lot of these parks in Florida are known as like pervert parks. I'm not saying that's the case here. So I mean, I don't really want to say wave at people or whatever, but like as you get older, you kind of learn that like when I moved to Alabama, one of my neighbors was a registered offender, and like I don't talk to people like that, period. Like those are people I don't even like, you know what I mean? Like, and I didn't know that. So when I moved in, I met my neighbor next door and I was cool with him and blah blah, and found out like down the line that this guy was like not only a registered but like a like habitual. Like this dude had no cure, you know. And I wish I had known that. Like, I think those people, like, when they meet somebody, the first thing they should say before they say hello is, hi, I'm a, you know what I mean? Like, or, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like, I don't know. But it's like, you can tell when people are kind of creepy in a place. Like, I just had a ticket, and I took it to court, and I lost. And it didn't matter what happened, like, in that incident, because the court doesn't really care what happened. All they care about is, who are you? And they looked at my driving record and they said, okay, you lost. And I'm like, well, that's you know, the specifics of what happened in court are irrelevant. All they do is they look at your, if you're like from an inner city area where you're constantly getting pulled over and detained needlessly, then that already reflects bad on you when you go to court, even if the specifics of the case you're dealing with become irrelevant. All they look at is, well, Mr. Whatever, you got pulled over 40 times. Doesn't matter if they're pulling you over needlessly, you're being profiled or whatever, but that doesn't matter. Again, the specifics of the case don't matter. What matters is, who are you when you go there? How many times have you had dealings with them, and whether you were at fault or not, they don't care. All they care about is the specifics. Nope. Who are you? How many times have you been in this court? That many times? So the courts sure don't really give a crap about being honest and fair and the specifics of your case. They look at, who are you? People out here don't wave, and sometimes these like out of the way neighborhoods, like where everybody knows everybody, it's just kind of like really crappy. I'm saying this place has some creepy, unwelcoming vibes. You know, I thought it was just Alabama, but I talked to a guy in Charlotte County in one of my recent videos, and he was telling me, and he's American. He's not, you know, he's American, and he was telling me all the stuff he's dealt with from his neighbors in Port Charlotte, in a really rural area. And he's like, man, you're not going to believe the things I've lived out here with my neighbors. I'm like, I've lived in Alabama. And everything he described to me about what he's dealing with in Port Charlotte, this little rural community, is exactly what I dealt with living in Alabama. So it's not an Alabama thing. It's just a small rural community thing of just being hostile to outsiders. And if you move into one of these places and you're not part of their little country club, you can call it, you know, things can get interesting, you know. But it's not an Alabama thing. It's a rural people thing to just be hostile to outsiders and people you don't know. And you know, the same things that I dealt with in Alabama. This guy, American, by the way, he's dealing with all these same problems in Port Charlotte, right here in Southwest Florida. So, you know, if you've never lived in a country place like this, and you're from a big city and you end up in a place like this, you'll find out that country people can be some of the pettiest people on earth. Just, you know, hating type people. You know, hostile as crap to outsiders. You'll find out. And I'm definitely not taking a jab at country people, because there also can be some of the best people, most helpful people you ever meet. But a lot of times I feel like living out in the country just kind of dumbs out your brain. In the city, your brain is always maxed out. You're always alert to your surroundings, so you become a very conscious person. But I feel like living in a rural place, you kind of like turn your brain off, and your brain gets accustomed to just being turned off and kind of dumbed down and not functioning or interacting with other people. So when it's time for you to interact again, you have some type of social challenges. And that's a worldwide thing. That's in every country, in every part of the world. When people live kind of in rural areas, they just become I hate to say the word uneducated, because I always tried, you know, growing up, to fight the stereotype that people in rural areas are slower. But it really is that, you know. That doesn't mean that they don't have thinking ability. And actually, for the most part, when you deal with rural people, they'll outsmart you in and out all day when it comes to like business, when it comes to just kind of, we call it presidio in Spanish. Just like having a convict mindset, you know, in other words, like being a step ahead of the game, especially with like if you have, you know, hostilities with somebody, they seem to always have the upper hand, or they just play it more dirty. But if you just think about like hunting, for example, people out here will spend a lot of the time hunting. So when you deal with them, some of the techniques that they learn from hunting, stalking, patience, all those things play into how they deal with people. But it's interesting to just see how city people and country people are different. All right, guys, so this area here, you can see the river up ahead. Now this area was pretty much underwater. And there's a nice little restaurant here called the Navigator, with the word gator highlighted, basically. And well, this area suffered greatly. The river pretty much came all the way out here, and the damages were severe. Okay guys, so now we're going to enter an area that really had severe damages. I mean, on par with any of the coastal communities. But this area here, just because of how far inland and how remote of a place it is, would have got far less attention from the media. But nonetheless, the damages that this community suffered here are on par with any of the damages along the coastal community. So despite the fact that we're far inland and this area didn't really get the notoriety the other areas did with their situations, these communities out here suffered greatly. So this is the Navigator. It's kind of one of those small little old Florida places that are out there, exist, and only really like the locals kind of know about it. And as you can see, the water from the river came all the way in here. When you look at the stuff that's in here, it's really sad. There's a lot of historic Florida memorabilia. The water from the river came into this community, and all of this area was really underwater. Areas that are kind of old Florida, historic, and have a lot of sentimental value to people. So here's the water, and as you can see, there's signs of how high the water level came up here. Anything from parts of boats to parts of farms, people's houses, personal belongings, all of that would have pretty much been floating and pushing its way into this community. So let's go in there and see some of the worst damages that you'll find in rural Desoto County. So this might look like a site from Fort Myers along the coast, but again, we are in Desoto County, very far inland. Guys, this looks like a site out of Fort Myers Beach. Again, we are far inland, DeSoto County, Florida. A lot of people ask me if organizations are helping in Southwest Florida because they don't see too much of it. A lot of them are, they're out there, but a lot of them don't really move with big flags and signs. A lot of them just kind of move discreetly. You might just see somebody helping their neighbor, and you don't know if they were sent out from an organization or not, because a lot of times, especially nowadays, a A lot of people are just they're helping, but they're not doing it with a big. You might just see like what looks like a commercial thing going on. You might think it's a company that's getting paid, and it could be an organization volunteering. So there are a lot of volunteer work going on, but the organizations that are doing it, not all of them, but a lot of them, are doing it really low key. They're not doing it to make a statement. They're just doing it to help out the members of their organizations and the communities they belong to. So not every organization's out there waving a big flag or with signs on the side of their vehicles. A lot of the organizations are just really kind of doing it really just because you don't see a flagpole doesn't mean there aren't people out there doing that. There are organizations working, but a lot of them are really low key. So yeah, there are organizations out there helping the community, but just because you don't see a truck with a sign on the side or something like that, it doesn't mean they're not out there. Are there people who just fall off the face of the earth during catastrophes? Absolutely. There's definitely some people out there that in time of trouble disappear, you could say. But on this channel, we're not here to point a finger at anybody. We're just here to show you guys what's happening on the ground. That's a whole different subject, but you might have a neighbor and you saw that they came and helped fix their roof. And you might drive by and you might think it's family, friends, or a company that's getting paid to do it. But the neighbors across the street, they know what organizations their neighbors belong to, and they know which neighbors' organizations were there for them and which organizations kind of flaked out. If you live across the street from somebody and they're part of an organization and a bunch of people come and fix it, you kind of figure that out with your immediate surroundings. But driving through a neighborhood where you don't know anybody, it's hard to tell. And then a lot of people, like when there's a situation, they're looking for a handout from the government, they're looking for help from an organization, but that's because now they're the ones that are in trouble, so they're looking out for help. But when they were good, they weren't really the most helpful people either. So you have to understand that some people, if you don't put your work in for your organizations, or if you don't what do they call it? Earning your stripes. If you don't earn your stripes within your organization, then there's not a lot you can really expect from people to help you if you haven't really, you know what I mean? People that say nobody's helping, they might be helping, but maybe they're doing it in a way that doesn't, they're not trying to draw attention. Most people who are in organizations and stuff, they're going to kind of have the principle that, if you help somebody, you don't do it to show off, you just do it quietly. So don't assume that there aren't people helping. There are people helping. Just there are people who could have and should have done more because that's what they were expected to do, and then they flake off. Just like anything. In a small little town like this, kind of everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows who's part of something, who's not part of something, and they kind of know that if they're part of something, they have to, regardless of what that is. It could be a poker club for all you care, a bingo club. When I say organization, I mean broadly an organization. People know everybody, and but if you're a person that doesn't contribute anything to society, don't pay taxes, don't belong to any organizations, don't have any insurance, don't even work, you might just have a place paid off and you just kind of live. It's hard for the rest of society to want to come and help you when you're kind of just living your own little world. I feel like in this community right here, and I don't know these people, I've never been here before, I am sure that in this community there was an old sweet lady who baked cookies for the kids and worked at the library and was a teacher at some point. and was just the sweetest lady in the world. If her house right now needed a roof, I am sure that the local people would make sure that her roof gets repaired if she can't afford to fix it. I am positive of that. And that could be in this little small town here, a small town in Alaska, or a small town in Nebraska. Anywhere in America and anywhere in the world, to be honest. But, you know, you kind of have to earn that. You got to keep in mind that today, more than ever, people's values and their commitments to the community and stuff are worse than they've ever been in history. People just don't give a crap about anything. They're thankless. They're, you know, whatever. So, you know, what can your expectations realistically be? We received 8 inches of snow last night when my camera froze. This part of Florida had about 8 inches of snow. It was a very snowy night last night. Thanks to my iPhone freezing, I guess. Maybe overheating, perhaps. Yeah, we had a lot of snowfall here in Florida. Some people in our society are only out for themselves, and the rest of us are onto that. Este tipo con un camión se me atravesó, mi hermano. Oh, hacer. No, yo sí ando apurado, mi hermano. Este tipo se me atravesó con una guagua, un camión en medio de la calle, hacer. No, porque el tipo se me atravesó, no, tú no ves que yo ando apurado, hacer. Oye, pero este tipo como ahí con medio de la calle atravesado, ¿no? Oye, el tipo se metió en medio de la calle,